How did it feel to run like
It felt incredible. Like I text Mark, I was like, dude, I really liked that.
There's so many different attributes to strength, and it's just fun to get more exposure to them. There's just so much more to explore with your strength training and with fitness and with mobility.
I got excited, so I sent you a voice message because I'm like, dog, I just ran a mile for the first time in a long ass time, all nasal breathing in a 6:45. Like, we're getting older, but we are increasing our capacity to do certain things. It doesn't mean we're not lifting anymore, because we still lift, but we're developing all these levels of strength that aren't just consisting about the weight on the bar.
I can honestly say that whatever I get interested in, I know that I'm going to do really well in it. And I know that there's all kinds of possibilities. I have all kinds of capabilities within anything that I get interested in, as long as I'm interested in it for a while.
There's nothing that I can't do better than I could do in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like I can do everything better right now in my 30s than I could when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Across the board.
I know that no one wants to clean out their closet, but like if you clean out the closet of your thoughts, it'll launch you forward in ways that you fucking couldn't believe.
There's you and Mark.
Look at my cape.
Look at their car though.
Guys, these legendary tasty pastries have changed the game. They're 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of carbs. If you were a kid, and I was a kid that ate Pop-Tarts, those things tasted great. But the difference, man, Andrew, what are the macros on Pop-Tart?
Yes, for a regular Pop-Tart, we're looking at 190 calories, 37 carbs, 16 grams of sugar, and only 2 grams of protein. As comparison to a tasty pastry, we're looking at only 180 calories, 5 net carbs, 0 sugars, and 20 grams of protein.
And this bad boy is gluten-free.
There you go. That's right.
Friendly. And they taste so good. Like, I'm eating it cold. I got here, a little bit of coffee.
It's so good, though.
You guys can warm this up, man.
Yeah.
They have so many flavors on their website, too. You have to check them out, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys got to head over to eatlegendary.com. They have tons of different things. They have almonds, they have butters, they have amazing flavored everything, and everything is all health conscious. Everything has low to no sugar.
They have nut butters.
They have nut butters, and you can't help but smile when you say nut butters. But head over to eatlegendary.com and use promo code Powerproject to save 20% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes. I know it sounds like we're overhyping it, but I promise you we are not. You guys have to go try these tasty pastries right now.
Man, people were commenting on Graham's like speed of speech in the comment section.
Oh. I don't know if I don't know if I mentioned it on the show or not, but because I couldn't get a word in edgewise.
There it is.
But I think I may have said it because he told me that he listens to podcasts at 2.5.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I brought it up on the podcast or not, but I had it in my head forever. Again, I don't know if I was able to say it or not.
I don't think so.
In between him catching a breath. But I was going to be like, it's quite obvious that you listen to podcasts at 2.5 because you're spitting out knowledge at 2.5.
Man, that's so fast.
Yeah, one of the best comments on the video is like, Graham is like the Jack Russell Terrier that runs out of your car and you can't get him back.
That's awesome. I think we should just do a reaction video where you and I are like, yeah, but
Hey, well, are we going?
Yeah, we're going.
Yo, even so, that the podcast with Graham was really good. It was he's very insightful. He knows a lot about a lot of different things. I'm really curious about like what books he reads, but I loved the tangents that he would go off on. I was enjoying it the whole time, man. I was so excited.
I was too. I'm like, he's on a roll. I'm not gonna stop him.
Don't stop this man. This man has shit going.
But I thought at some point that he would like, because we've had guests on before where they start that way and then they start to fizzle down. He actually started to ramp up.
Yeah, even off, as soon as we got off air, he's still just like, we hung out and talked for another like hour and he's just putting on another show.
Dude, that energy is infectious, man. Like
that
man should never lose that energy because like that got me pumped while we were like, I was so happy during that episode. So
we've had some great guests on.
Yeah,
had some great guests recently.
Bangers.
Yeah, Brandon was awesome. I loved his energy, and he and I did a tank workout
and kettlebells.
Yep.
Yes.
Ooh.
Sorry for anybody listening, but I just made that.
Don't worry, you've yelled much louder.
I have. Y'all are used to it at this point.
But yeah, it's great, working out with these guys and going out and I don't sprinting with no shoes on, no socks on. Kind of weird, especially like on that field, over at UC
Field
Davis.
of needles.
Yeah, it was kind of like running on hay.
How did it feel on your feet, Andrew?
So,
actually,
yeah, well, the funny thing is, like, going into it, I'm like, God, like, dude, the bottom of my feet are just going to be shredded. It's going to be like a cheese grater. Like, they're going to be like, pieces of like meat coming out.
yeah.
But actually, the bottom of my feet is like intact. It was like I felt nothing. It wasn't sore. Nothing.
Yeah.
Top of my feet, like my toes, like moving around is really sore. My right Achilles hates me still.
Mm-hmm.
It's very upset with me, but the hip flexors from sprinting was kind of a killer too. But no, dude, my feet feel good.
How did it feel to run like
It
that?
felt incredible. Like I text Mark, I was like, dude, I really liked that. Like that felt so good. I felt like a kid again. Zero back pain. I was just like blown away. I was so happy. Yeah.
It's another form of strength.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of just live in this box of like deadlift, squat, bench press, pull-ups, things like that. But there's so many different attributes to strength, and it's just fun to get more exposure to them, and see the way that Graham was able to run. Like he's able to put a lot of force into the ground, and then some of the drills that he does where he hops up off the ground from 2 feet onto 1 foot, and then he sprints. And like we were just messing around, like just pretending we were like covering each other like someone's throwing a football, and like that shit was fun. I just think there's just so much more to explore with your strength training and with fitness and with mobility. Like, yeah, you could sit it there and you can stretch and you can lift, and those things are great. And I love those things. I've lived in the gym pretty much my entire life. However, I've always enjoyed being outside. I've always enjoyed drills. I used to love football as a kid, and it's just kind of funny to me as we get older how we just won't engage in play. And I don't know what stops us. I think that we're thinking that I guess I do know what stops us. We have negative feedback from playing sometimes. Sometimes we go to play and it fucking hurts. We play a pickup game of basketball and we roll our ankle. We go to run and it hurts our knees. We go to play pickup game of football and we pop something, and we're just like, well, I guess, I am pretty removed from my high school days. Maybe I should stop that shit.
No, absolutely. And like a huge aspect of that is, you need to slowly change your habits, because we all can go and run. We all can go and sprint. We all can go and play a pickup game of basketball if we ease ourselves into it. Like when I was sprinting with Graham, and when he comes back, I'm going to beat his ass in a sprint. I know it. But I was going to like 80%, and I was like, nah, we ain't pulling our hamstring today. We're going to keep it chill. I pulled my hammy. But, the problem there was I think I did some sprints 2 days before just to see how am I, like, and I sprinted out 100% on the thing in the gym, and I was feeling good. So I was like, okay, looks like I can probably go out and sprint. I should have done like 3 or 4 weeks of just building up to intensity, because the off chance thing did happen and I pulled my hammy, but preparation was necessary. So we're doing all these things now, all these really cool things. You just ran a fucking half marathon, but you didn't go and you didn't go and run a half marathon off the bat.
Well, I kind of did.
I mean, you've been running though. You've been running for how long now? When did you really start running again? Right.
No, I knew I could keep that pace. I mean, I guess first of all, I think, we can go back probably almost 3 years ago when I started messing around with a little bit of running. And I didn't really get consistent with it until maybe just a couple months ago, where I was like, I'm just going to be consistent with this and kind of see what happens. And that was all sparked by having Ben Patrick here, because without having Ben Patrick here, which is really weird because he says that I'm a mentor to him, but he's helped me tremendously, and now my knees feel better. So I just felt better. So it's just like, it just called to me to move more, when your diet feels good and when everything's feeling right, you just feel like you have more energy output. So I was like, I feel like I need to do something else with this body other than just lift weights. So
did Chris Henshaw coach you up at all too with some running tactics?
Yes, he did. Chris Henshaw was a big impact. You think about it, we had Nick Bear, we had Zach Bitter. We've had a bunch of people around us for a while that talk about running and that are amazing runners. I mean, Zach Bitter had the all-time world record for a while in ultra marathons, like 100 miles. He's unbelievable. But he showed me how to run. And then when Chris Henshaw's like, damn, he's like, your running form's pretty good. But that's because Zach Bitter showed me previously. You guys saw me how I was running before that.
Yeah.
It was a real wreck.
And if you guys are missing it, go to the YouTube channel because you put that up on YouTube, Zach Bitter and you. So go watch that video so you can see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, and then Chris Henshaw was incredible because what I liked about him, he knows the technical side of all this stuff, and he could break stuff down. He could get like really deep into what energy system you're using, but he didn't use any of that language when he was here.
Yeah.
The only thing he talked about was like, can you still have a conversation? Can you talk? And we did get into a little bit about like nasal breathing and stuff, and he was like, dude, you're brand new. Like, you're going to be hyperventilating when you're running. You're going to be running like you're a chubby kid. And he's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. The nasal breathing stuff, he's like, that's going to be for down the road. And during this half marathon that I did, 13 point whatever miles it is, I don't think my heart rate, according to my Garmin watch, I don't think it even went over like 80. It was like 85, 90. Like, it was in that range. I felt really good the whole time. I don't think I was nasal breathing the entire time, but now keep in mind, I was moving really slow. I just got my time today. It came back. It was like 3 hours and 3 minutes. So I'm not setting the world on fire. The first place guy, he did it in 1 hour. So he beat me by, that motherfucker beat me by 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I was just going at a pace that I could handle, and it felt good. And none of it felt hard. I never felt like there was any reason to stop or to quit. I was having a hard time actually like running, and it wasn't because of the duration of how long it was. It's because I was sore from doing the sprinting with Graham, because this was on Sunday and I think we ran on Friday.
Yeah.
So my hips were still, and my groin and stuff. And I was like, oh man. So that's why I just did like this slow waddle the entire time.
But listen, like, okay, you say that, the slow waddle, you jogged. But even so, you did that at a consistent pace, unless like you were slowing down at the stops, but you did that at a pretty consistent pace for 13 and a half miles. Like, and that was your first time doing that, right? That's a big deal because I think it's really cool looking at where you came from, 330 pounds, focusing on powerlifting, transition into doing some bodybuilding, getting leaner, getting in shape, now doing running while maintaining a good amount of muscle and still being able to move. It's funny to me because it's like people expect that as they get older, things will feel worse, they will break down, they will get weaker, right? As you're getting older, you're feeling younger. You're probably feeling way better now than you did when you were within, I don't want to say the highest level is your powerlifting career, because to do that and to move those types of loads, there's a lot of wear and tear on the body. But even before that, you're probably feeling better now than you did then.
I think maybe in about 2 years, I'll be able to do things that I just have never been able to do before.
Like, what do you mean?
Just all kinds of stuff. Like I've never really had great mobility. And so I think that first of all, I think right now I can do almost every single thing that I did when I was in high school. From an athleticism standpoint, there are still a couple things, like we talked about jumping over the couch with JL, but actually my knee is starting to feel a little bit better. So now I would at least try it. I still might kill myself because I'm out of practice with stuff like that. But when I was young, like I didn't mind trying all kinds of physical stuff just because like I always felt good and felt athletic and felt strong. So I'm kind of hoping to gain some access to some of those things and I don't know, like maybe be able to grab a basketball rim. Like when I was young, I was able to do stuff like that. So I don't know how far away I am from that. I don't even know. I'm not sure if I could even like touch the net. I don't know, like, what my jumping capabilities are currently. But I know that I feel good and I know that I can work towards being able to produce a lot of force. So that's kind of the next stage, is to work on being able to just be more explosive.
And I Andrew, I'm curious about your take too, because you're probably feeling much better now than you did a few years ago, and you're getting older. But for example, we have all these people come onto the podcast, Chris Henshaw, Ben Patrick, Graham Tuttle recently, a lot of other guests too, that just give us these little nuggets, right? Like when Graham came on, And we did all the footwork, you know, and we did all the like connecting with your feet, doing the hand and foot glove, the different foot exercises. And if you guys haven't seen this, it will be on YouTube, and we did make stuff for Instagram too. So that's there. And you should just go to Graham's page because he has all that info. But literally that night, after we finished that, it was the Thursday, I went out and I ran fucking 2 miles. And the first mile I ran in 6:45. I got excited, so I sent you a voice message because I'm like, dog, I just ran a mile for the first time in a long ass time, all nasal breathing in a 6:45. And I haven't done that in forever just because like when I'd run, I just didn't feel good, right? But working on my feet, that small amount, it unlocked something that I just didn't have access to. So I felt so comfortable during that run. I think when I ran back, it was like a 7:10 or 7:15 or something like that. But I felt fucking amazing. And like we're getting older, but we are increasing our capacity to do certain things. It doesn't mean we're not lifting anymore because we still lift, but we're developing all these levels of strength that aren't just consisting about the weight on the bar.
And I think for me, the go-to guys were transformative too, because the stuff that they were mentioning when they were here, I was like, I want to see, just like everybody else that watches it. You watch that stuff, especially the go-to stuff. It seems to be kind of polarizing, and people are like, I wonder if this is bullshit. Which, by the way, audience, that's fucking great. That's the way you should view everything with a little skeptical eye, and you should think for a second about it. You should say, I wonder if what they're saying, how true it is. But then I think it's a good idea to examine it. And so I was like, let me just try some of this myself. Let me put aside any emotion from it. Let me just try some of this myself. And the go-to guys were like, well, you know, we don't expect you to get rid of all your lifting and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, no, you know what? I am going to put my lifting aside for a little while just so I can see if what you're talking about has any benefit for me. And I remember what James Smith said. James Smith said, if you want to change your tissues, you have to change what you do. Yeah. So if we want, like, look, if you want your shoulder to feel better, you probably need to stop bench pressing. If you want your hamstring to feel better, your quads, whatever it is, you might have to stop powerlifting for a little bit, your knee, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You're going to have to like go in a different direction for at least a little while.
Uh-huh.
And for some people in my powerlifting career, sometimes that only meant like 2 weeks. Like it wasn't a huge, which sounds like a huge deal. Like, bro, you can't bench for 2 weeks. You're like, what?
You gotta do that voice though.
Yeah, you like can't live without like doing the exercises like pacify you in some way, you know? But so I wanted to really trust in what they were saying. And sure enough, by getting rid of some lifting for a little while, keep in mind, I've never taken a break from lifting. So I probably should have examined that at some other point probably. But by pulling back on lifting and by stretching, imagine that. And Nsima's been talking about stretching forever. My body felt lighter. I felt a little bit better. It was easier to run. You know, don't forget that we are so attached to the way that our body feels and the message that our body has given us. I can sit here and say, oh, yeah, I toughed it out and I woke up early and I ran. It's like, no, my body felt good enough for me to run. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ran. I would have talked myself out of it just like anybody else. Yeah, there was days where like I was a little sore and I did have to talk myself into it, of course. And I've been a person that's been disciplined with physical stuff for many years, so it wasn't that hard for me to do any of that. But if you don't feel good, you're not going to be able to like play the game. You're not going to be able to participate. And you're going to drop off at some point. And most people drop off or drop out of stuff because of negative feedback. When you used to run, it used to hurt your knee. When I used to run, well, I wouldn't even think of running. That's how far back I was. Yeah. It's like I was like, I weigh 270, I weigh 290, I weigh 300. Like, there's no running, no running to be had here. Even as I lost weight, it just didn't occur to me like that. Oh, maybe I gained access back into some of these things because I still didn't feel good. My body, my tissues were still way too stiff.
And I want to mention something real quick because the go-to guys are great. But one thing is when I hear information, and it's cool. We take on information from a lot of different people and take the things from them that serve us and discard the things that don't. John Cena and Jesus are making me a little bit uncomfortable. I just realized that, and I don't think that's haram.
Well,
that's very haram.
It's supposed to be like
Type in Haram on the internet.
it's supposed to be a power slam, but it's kind of turned into.
It's turning into a power slam, and
Yeah,
Jesus is doing some.
He should be more like that. There you
What
go.
popped up with Haram?
What does that start with?
Haram.
Harambe?
Just Haram.
Haram. Gonna forbidden or prescribed by Islam. What? Oh, it's forbidden. Duh. Okay.
That's
It's
Haram.
forbidden. Got it.
Anyway, what I'll say is I'm not into like when someone puts something forward and they're like, my way is right and all these people are doing this wrong. I wasn't here for the Go To podcast because I had COVID, but when I listened to it, I was just like, man, there's some good things here, but y'all ain't got to do that. Like it's going to be hard for people to receive your message if you're just trashing the things that other people do. And there's no reason that lifters cannot implement the stuff that you guys have been learning and I've been learning from Goda and keep doing your fucking thing, because there are aspects of things that'll benefit them. But like immediately I can understand somebody hearing that and being like, well, fuck you. Like, to be perfectly honest, because like that's why Ben's done such a great job. Graham's done such a great job. A lot of these people we've had on have done a great job because they're like, hey, take a look at this. This might benefit you. What you're doing is great. It's cool. But take a look at this. But then, when somebody's like, all that lifting shit you're doing, you're wasting your fucking time. It's fun. And there's aspects of lifting that are fucking people up.
Oh yeah.
So that's true, but no, it's not something that an athlete shouldn't do. And that's why I hope that people just pay attention to that stuff and implement it, but do not get dogmatic with it. Don't ever let yourself get into that kind of mindset where this is the right way and everything else is shit.
And I think the reason for that is that you are not going to flip someone's beliefs around until you figure out a way to give them a taste of what you're talking about. So it's our job on this show, and it's other people's job that are listening to the show that want to share this stuff with family members and friends, to do so in a way that is inviting and to say, hey, Grandpa, I know your knees hurt. Maybe you can come to the gym with me today and pull the sled backwards, rather than telling him, don't do this. You sit down way too much. You got to stand up more. You just threw so much shit at somebody, and they're going to be, you got to keep in mind, they don't feel good. And they have negative feedback from all the things that they try to do most of the time. And so they're not as into it as you are. The only way that you can get them to think a little differently is if they feel something and it feels differently. If they go to the gym with you and they practice an exercise and they try a stretch or they try something that you recommended. I mean, try this right now. Like, just take your fucking hand and put your hand in between your toes.
Oh.
It's like, it's so strange on what that does for you. Like after Nsima was doing it to me the other day, I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. We'll explain that some other time, I guess, but it's incredible. Like your entire body feels different from stuff like that. So I think we have to, first of all, to retain information and to get information, you can't shut yourself off just because of one thing that someone says. So if somebody says something and it turns you off, don't forget there's still something probably really valuable you can learn from that person. And then if you're going to share that information, make sure you don't do that same thing. And I've been guilty of it a million times because I get frustrated with different strategies that people use. And I want to tell people the strategy that I use because I'm excited about it. But I should just present shit and then let people make their own decision.
Yeah, I like what, Graham's approach. He had a bunch of different things, but he's not knees over toes guy. He's not Goda. But the information that he shared, like when we seen that lineman on the field and he was like, get in your stance. And he just like, he had his inside ankle bone was low and he was explaining all that. So I think if, like, let's say you did see or hear about the Goda information and you just totally wrote it off, but then you're like, oh, but I like Graham. It's like, but they are kind of talking about the same thing.
Delivery matters.
So, but delivery, yes. But what I'm getting at is like, don't shut yourself off because, this is too dark. Like whatever it is, this camp over here, you're just like, I don't want any of their information. But like what Mark just said, like, but when some of those tactics or topics cross over, then you can be like, oh, that's what they were talking about. And then, the delivery, does matter. So you're just like, now it makes even more sense.
I think something good to do is, because we like to bring people on that challenge the things that we do and challenge our ideas. So that's a good thing. But one of the reasons why we like doing that is like when we hear something that is maybe in stark contrast to what we do or what we may currently believe is right for us. If it rubs that, right, ask yourself why, because it might be that is probably a good thing. Like if you have a visceral reaction to something that somebody says, instead of immediately just turning that off, listen more intently. Just like really listen more intently, because it could be that person's bringing something to you that might end up changing your idea or changing your belief on something. And at the end of the day, that's a good thing, because we are not always right. We do not expect to be always right. We expect to come across new information that will help us adjust our belief systems and the things that we do so we can become better. But if we are like, what we're doing is right, we're everything we do is fucking right, we're going to be stuck in a cage of our own creation, and we're not going to be able to move forward.
Right. And I think we have a tendency to put ourselves in a box too. And this is something that I said while I was running, and I just wanted to record it because I was like, I'm just feeling a certain way. Like all kinds of weird shit happens to you when you run for 3 hours straight. You think about all kinds of stuff. I thought about my dad being in the hospital for 75 days straight and just all kinds of stuff. And you're like, well, that had to be way harder than this. So this is actually fucking easy. But I was also just thinking about how many times I boxed myself in. It's not even anything that anybody else said about me. It's like my own thoughts about it's my own thoughts about how I perceive people to think of me. Like I'm a meathead. Like no one really has ever just said, hey, you're just a meathead. Like no one's really ever physically, I mean, they might call me a meathead, but it's like in jest, they're just kind of like fucking around or whatever. Thinking that I was dumb when I was a kid, like all these things, thinking that I was a jock, like, oh, you're good physically, but not so much mentally.
Yep.
You're good at these things, but even something as simple as like cooking, you could tell yourself like, oh, I don't know anything about cooking. And it's like, well, maybe that's not true. Maybe you cook actually kind of a decent variety of stuff that you like, that you cook pretty well to your taste buds. Like that's actually a really good start.
Yeah.
And just thinking like, I was a power lifter and kind of being so entrenched in that, for me, I was lucky because I was a power lifter as a kid. And I distanced myself from it for a period of time. And then I came back to it as I was an adult. And when I came back to it, I knew, I kind of just knew better than to get like too deep into it and have it be my only thing.
Yeah.
Because I already went through professional wrestling, which I basically failed at, and also football. Like I didn't reach my dreams and hopes in football. So I already had two things that didn't really work out the way that I was thinking they would work out in my head. And when it came to powerlifting, it was more like, let me just see what the fuck I can do with this. This would be interesting. What if football, I got to be honest with myself. I don't think I put everything into it.
Yeah.
I think I was too young. I wasn't as fired up as I am nowadays, those kind of things. Wrestling, same thing. Wrestling wasn't my passion. It was my brother's passion. I kind of got into it with him, and me and my brothers, we loved wrestling. And so I wasn't going to be the next Stone Cold or The Rock. When it came to powerlifting, I was like, this is something you were good at as a kid. And you've always been pretty good at it. Without a crazy amount of extra effort, you were better than most. So let's see what happens if we we roll the dice and we kind of bet on this, let's see what's going to happen. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put my focus there, but I was also grounded because I had a wife. Over a period of time, I had Jake, and then I had Quinn. I had Power Magazine. Then I had Slingshot. I had a lot of shit going on. So I wasn't just a power lifter. I wasn't just a meathead. I was also an inventor. I was also a dad. I was also a husband. And so I was all these things to all these different people. But what I made the mistake of many, many times in the past was putting myself in this box of you're a power lifter, or you're just this. Over a period of time, as I was able to achieve stuff physically, I was like, who the fuck knows? I don't know. Like, maybe I'll be an author one day. I've written 2 books. Maybe who the hell knows? Maybe one day I'll be an actor. I don't know. Like, I don't know where this, maybe I'll get into jujitsu more. Like, I don't really know anymore. Now I can honestly say that whatever I get interested in, I know that I'm going to do really well in it. And I know that, there's all kinds of possibilities. I have all kinds of capabilities within anything that I get interested in, as long as I'm interested in it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And dude, a big thing that I've done this, people tend to do is, if you have people that are close to you, or if you've just had a belief about yourself for a long time, because we know that your words mean a lot, the things you say about yourself mean a lot, but then also if somebody close to you says something about you, you may take that and you may start believing that about yourself. Like, I had somebody in the past that told me I wasn't really that creative. I was very skilled analytically. Like, I could just take things, understand it, and roll with it. Right? I was good at memorizing shit, but because of that, I was just like, I'm not really a creative. I said that about myself, that I am not a creative person. Or I have a hard time with creativity.
I think I've heard you say that.
Yeah, you did hear me say that a few years ago. Like, I've said that, but once I started analyzing shit, what beliefs do I have about myself?
What makes someone more creative than you? Like,
just sitting down and thinking. Like, that's all. Like, sitting down and thinking and letting things happen. And I stopped believing that about myself. Right. But that, and now I think I'm super creative. Right. But I believe that about myself. So I think what you got to do is going to analyze what beliefs you have about yourself. Do you not think you're smart? Do you not think you're creative? Do you not think that you can speak behind a camera? One thing is like, this is another belief I had. When you guys had me come onto the podcast a few years ago, I was like, well, shit, number one, I don't know if I can talk about anything for an hour, but number two, I've
had you speak at seminars, stuff like that too.
Yeah, exactly. You had me speak at seminars. I was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing this to me, right? But I was also like, I'm not that funny either, right? I believe that about myself, but I'm not saying I'm funny. But what I'm saying is I've seen comments and people have told me I'm funny. I'm like, I guess I may have a little bit of a comedic bone in me. So this is the thing. I set those beliefs in myself, those beliefs that are lacking. And I had to analyze that and be like, no, I can be this. No, I can be this. And we all need to do that for ourselves, because there's no reason you don't need to box yourself in. I was boxing myself in. You were boxing yourself in for certain things too. We got to get the fuck out of that. And those boxes are going to limit us in terms of the things that we really want to do. You won't take a step. Like, I remember when you guys asked me to be on the podcast, intrinsically, I was just like, I knee-jerked and said yes. But inside, I was just like, dog, you ain't ready. Like, straight up, I was like, dog, you ain't fucking ready. But that was my belief, and it wasn't true. So we gotta really redefine that
true.
Shit.
You're not ready.
Fuck you.
Like, well, we're still waiting to see how it works out.
You brought it up.
Yeah, but what you guys are saying is because like you also have the patience too. Because that's something that, I can be like, I do want to be more creative. And then I'll try something like, fuck, dude, I've been sitting here for like an hour trying to think of a TikTok video and I can't think of one thing. I'm not creative the way I thought I was, or I was trying to be.
Yeah.
But you maybe try it again tomorrow and it's like, oh, it took me less time to figure it out, and so on and so forth. So that was my problem in the past for sure, is like, I just wouldn't stick with anything.
Dog, but on that, this is the thing too that fucks a lot of people. And I think it helped, doing jujitsu for me, helped me kind of get out of that. Getting good at something takes a long time. Yeah. And people feel like if I get into this and I don't immediately have a knack for it, it's not me, it's not for me. And maybe there are certain things that aren't for you. I'm not saying that you need to stick with everything you do, but when it comes to trying to learn a new skill or trying to be a different way, maybe you want to start reading more. So you start reading and it's slow initially, or you want to start doing more creative things and you start doing more creative things and it takes you a while. That is okay. Like, not everything needs to come fast needs to come to you quickly.
Although it would help. I don't put in so much work, man.
Yeah, just like, I just gotta. But not everything needs to hit. You don't need to be a natural at something to stick with it. And a lot of people, this was from that book, Mindset by Carol Dweck, which I tell everybody to read. A lot of people feel like if I don't get this quickly or if it doesn't click with me, I'm just not good at it. And that is a belief to get rid of, because everything is going to take a while to improve at.
We talk a lot about interpretation and, redefining things, redefine what strength means to you. Redefine how far you want to go with your strength. Like if you really are obsessed and you really do want to deadlift 800 pounds, then maybe for you, it's fine that you leave other things out and you don't end up sprinting barefoot and you don't end up practicing jujitsu or learning how to box or learning other things that are good for your health or good for your like kind of longevity. Like that's fine. Like you set a goal and you kind of go after it. That's what I did. And I feel great about it. And I would advise other people to, go after the things that they're really interested in and to do so with everything they got. However, I think it's also important to redefine stuff. So when it comes to something like creativity, people might not know this, but like if you're good at basketball or you're good at tennis or you're good at like, do you know how fucking hard it would be to try to build a robot to be able to hit a tennis ball back from even a crappy tennis player?
Yeah.
There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of genius inside someone's body to be able to hear the ball hitting a racket, hear the ball hitting the ground, and then saying, I think it's going to ricochet over here.
And then adjust yourself.
And then adjust how you hit it just very specifically so it just goes over the net. And like I'm using tennis as an example because tennis is fucking really difficult. Like it's very hard to like, I mean, obviously you could be agile.
Yeah.
So you could have some skill set with some of that, but like all three of us could go play basketball pretty easily. And who knows, maybe we'll all be terrible, but like we can go play. All three of us could go play volleyball. And again, maybe we'll be horrible. We're going to like be pretty bummed about tennis because we're going to keep hitting it into the fucking net.
Yeah.
I'm going to get pissed and I'm going to hit it, and try to hit home runs with it. And that's not even going to go as far as I'd like, like it's really difficult. So
we'll be missing the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever played tennis?
Yes.
Okay.
I was shit. Like
It was pretty fun though.
not as a kid. I did it with like a friend of mine a few times and I was bad.
I was playing at some like camps and stuff when I was really young, and but we were just like messing around. Like we were like at this camp, you got to pick different sports.
Yeah.
And we were young, and no one was trying to like train you in like tennis. It didn't have like a tennis coach or anything. They just wanted you to hit the ball back and forth. And then as it got explained to me of like how you're supposed to hit the ball and how it has to land in a particular spot just for a serve, I couldn't even serve it. I was like, this game's impossible. But to your point, like, don't give up on stuff just because you're not naturally good at it right away. Some things are going to take more work than others. But also let's kind of redefine like our definition of creativity. Like there's so many different expressions of it. Somebody that figures out how to dribble a basketball and get past another person to keep scoring layups all day long, that's a form of fucking creativity. Creativity is just anything that's outside the box of traditional thought, of the way that anybody else thinks about stuff. And creativity is created off of error correction and off of, okay, when I tried that dribble last time, it went off my foot. I got to make sure my foot's in a different spot, or I got to dribble the ball in a different spot. Last time the guy stole the ball from me, I wonder if I push my butt towards him, if he'll be able to get to the ball, like these kinds of things. You start to think of those things, but I think that we don't place a lot of value on that. We're thinking creativity means that we are an inventor, that we come up with like that, or that we're like a pioneer of some kind. And if you look at someone like Mr. Beast, who was just recently on Joe Rogan,
listen to that episode.
That guy practiced his creativity over and over again. It's a muscle. It's just like anything else. If you practice it a lot and then you start to believe in yourself, other people start to say you're creative, and now you're kind of you're on your way because now you have a belief system that's wrapped up in it. But like, just work on redefining these things, and you don't have to. You don't have to think that you'll never have access to it.
And I want to kind of piggyback off that. I love how you mentioned kind of redefine what creativity is, because there are, if you look within your life, there are probably many things that you do and that maybe you're skilled at, that does take a level of creativity that you are adding things to. And you just don't think that's creative because that's what you do. But there's a level of creativity in that. It's like a scale, it's a spectrum, right? But whenever people talk about, especially because of social media, comparisons, one reason why, if I look at myself, one reason why I may have not thought I was creative was because I was like, damn, they're doing this. I see him doing this. I see her doing this. That's so creative. I can't, or I didn't do that. So I'm like, maybe I'm just not creative. But I've also said, and I do think it's useful to look at other people who are doing things better than yourself and to compare yourself to them. But when you compare yourself to them, don't look at it as a negative thing. Like, look at what they're doing creatively, or look at what they are doing physically, or look at what they're doing financially, and use that as like, I wonder how they're doing that. Because comparing yourself to people can actually be something powerful. It can be like you see somebody doing something a certain way and they're doing it in an amazing way. The knee-jerk reaction shouldn't be like, oh, fuck them. Like, it shouldn't be to try to tear that down. It should be like, that's fucking impressive. I want to be able to do that. Or I want to be able to understand how to do that or learn how to do that. And then take that.
Even
and
saying,
roll.
I wonder how long that person's been doing that for to get that good at that.
Exactly. Because
I would like that.
Exactly. So because like this whole thing is like, a lot of people will say, don't compare yourself to other people. Maybe compare yourself to other people, but change your interpretation of that in comparison. Mm-hmm. Change the way you take that comparison. It shouldn't now be a negative thing on yourself or your lack of ability within a certain area or realm. It should be, I'm comparing myself to them because I want to see how they got there, how they do what they do, how they learned to do that, maybe what books they read, so you can get there. That should be a comparison, because comparison is good.
Yeah, you can reverse engineer it.
Powerproject family, I hope you guys are doing well today. I want to give you guys a quick piece of fitness equipment lifting history. The hip circle that you see before you is actually the first hip circle ever. All right, there were no booty bands before the hip circle, which is pretty interesting. That's why you see it in gyms like The Rock. We've seen Kim K using it on Instagram. It is the OG, but that's also why we have the slingshots, gangster wraps, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, everything that you're going to need in the gym so that you can protect yourself before you wreck yourself. So, Andrew, you tell the people how to get it.
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
It's interesting, like that only happens when there's a lot of space between you and the other person, like a lot of degrees of separation. Like, for example, maybe somebody is amazing. Again, I'll use basketball as an example. I can be like, well, I'm not a basketball player, but that's absolutely fascinating. I want to ask this guy like how he got to be so fucking good at that is incredible. You know, the way he can dribble, the way he can shoot, the way he can dunk, like that's amazing. But if it's like another lifter or a bodybuilder, maybe I'm kind of hung up and just kind of sitting there going, that guy's way more jacked than me. He's way stronger. And then for some reason, like that guards me to like not ask questions. And like, that's foolish because I should ask questions in that moment, right? When I was doing my run, I had these older women who came up and they're like, we're having a great time running behind you. They're like, you're not half bad to look at. And they just start, but they're not going to do that. Like 25-year-old girls aren't going to do that same thing.
They might.
Right, maybe. And the guy that was in front of me, you know, I mentioned that I lost 100 pounds and he like peeled back and he started listening to me too. And we had like this little mini seminar as I'm going.
Wow. So you were talking while.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. We're having some conversation. But I think that if it's like runner versus runner, they're not going to ask each other questions. You know, it's like two guys that they average, 8-minute miles the whole time and they're competitive with each other. I mean, first of all, they're not going to talk during the race, but might not even talk after the race because they're comparing themselves and they're kind of like in conflict with the other person rather than just being like receptive to the other person saying, hey man, you did fucking awesome on that race. Like what, think about like when you competed in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
When you compete, you might ask the judges some shit, but you never talk to the other motherfucker that you competed against.
Depends on how, yeah.
Yeah. Even the guy that came in second or third, if you were able to beat some other people, the guy might have better legs than you. And you're not like, bro, like, hey, your legs look awesome, man. What'd you do? as we get older, we do that shit. You know, when you become like 40, you become 50, you don't care anymore. It's a lot easier to do stuff like that. But for when we're young and we're competitive, we're like, I'm not going to ask that. But like, I don't need to know anything from that person. I'm just going to work harder.
Imagine if you do that stuff when you're younger, though. Like a cool thing is like when Ben came here, he was asking you a lot of questions. He was asking you, like that's why he started deadlifting over there. He was asking you questions about deadlifting. Like he's already so far in the realm of what he does as far as ATG, full range movements, athletics, but he's still coming over here in the realm of deadlifts and barbell strength. And like, how is this useful? How can I implement it? Teach me.
Right.
We all have that mindset here where it's just like, let's fucking just learn. Like we have teachable mindsets. We have that white belt mentality. And the reason why we're all getting better as we get older, but not only getting better, we're all kind of turning younger as we get older. I can specifically kind of talk about you two because I don't really count here. You guys are both getting younger. You guys are both, I think, even in terms of a level of excitement that I personally have about things now, I'm just getting more excited day by day as I keep learning and reading new shit. Like I feel more excitement. And for a lot of people, as they get older, they get less excited. They get less curious. You know, as a kid, like you mentioned, you are curious. Keep that fucking curiosity fire high. Keep being curious about shit.
Yeah. Like I was just thinking about it. Like I can't point to any one thing specific because first off, I didn't really do shit in my 20s, but there's nothing that I can't do better than I could do in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like I can do everything better right now in my 30s than I could when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Across the board, you can, every fucking little thing you can think of athletically, mobility, just energy, everything is way better right now in 36 than fucking my whole life,
libido?
Dude. Libido is actually way higher now too.
Because I've been pumping that cock.
Dude, with that penis pump though. Getting the sensitivity up.
Someone's gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Getting that girth up too.
Hey, y'all want to tell them what the fuck happened in February?
I mean, that's up to you guys.
Penis pump record sales.
Yo, okay. So, you know what? Yeah, we like. So in January, we sold like $150,000 worth of penis pumps. And if you guys go look at the comments in those videos, a lot of guys were talking about like how it's been beneficial for them. It's been beneficial for your boy. In February, we sold more penis pumps.
We're going to all have penis pump cars.
We get a Bentley with a dick stand.
Just it'll be custom.
A Chindo.
Those would be great to sell.
A penis-shaped steering wheel. You know the little thing in the car, but have it shaped as a dick.
We'll just be like the ambiguously gay duo. You remember those?
No, that rings a bell though.
Yes, I know.
Be careful with the sound though.
No, no sound. But
yeah,
I want to see what their car looks like.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, your libido is your libido better now than in your 20s?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Everything's
in
up.
comparison.
Everything's up.
I want to see if this one's a car. Yeah, it's in here.
It's a van.
Looking up. Is this? Where have I seen this?
It's Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
There's you and Mark.
Look at my cape.
Oh my god.
Look at their car though. That's what we'll be riding.
Oh wow.
Ace and Gary. Oh.
They just blew up a robot.
Safety tips.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my god. Yeah. That's what that when you said car, I was just like, well, maybe it'll just be a clear cylinder with some chairs inside, and that'll be the penis pump mobile.
That like that's super exciting, dude, because you hear these things like sarcopenia is a thing, and whenever I've heard about sarcopenia, I'm like, I mean, if you lift, I wonder who, like, it is a thing. It is factual that as you get older, you lose muscle. And I even hear people that make YouTube videos when they're talking about older guys who are jacked and why they're probably on drugs. They always bring up, well, sarcopenia. You know, as you get older, you lose muscle, so there's no way you can be this jacked. But if you have within you the continuous lifting through the years and continually trying to progress in the gym, there should be no reason that you're a jacked 50-year-old.
I mean, Arnold still looks pretty good. I know his goals aren't the same, you know, like if he's on anything, like It's probably way less than what he used to use, and I think he's in his 70s. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are still able to hold it together. And I think that your goals just change too as you get older. So you might not care to be as big. It might not be as convenient to like lug around as much body weight. And therefore, because your goals change, you might just, I don't know, just want to live in a slightly different body. Like for me, I over time, I'll want to be like, continue to be like less weight, I think, just because it's just easier. Makes everything a little easier.
So then I can take all your clothes that fit me. You'll just be a size down. So give me all your Viore. Thank you.
But you got a new wardrobe.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, even like, because I did say mobility, but like, you guys know me as like, well, a couple months ago being like super stiff, but even in my 20s I was super stiff, like, because all I did was sit down, and then I'd get up and go to work, and I would sit down all day, and like, so like everything, it just made me a better person, because it's like, I don't know, like something as simple as like taking out the trash, it's like, fuck, like that hurts, like, we'll just keep pushing it down. You know, like just little stupid things like that just made me a better person.
Keep sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do that tomorrow. That idea about stretching, I'll mess with that tomorrow. Yeah, just keep pushing it off. I think people just re-examining and redefining just as many things as you can think of. I know that no one wants to clean out their closet, but like if you clean out the closet of your thoughts, it'll launch you forward in ways that you fucking couldn't believe. You think about, like, I know Nsima's helped a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people. Andrew's helped a lot of people. And we hear people all the time say, oh man, that's cool that you guys do that, but I don't have the discipline. And you're like, I'm sorry, what do you do again? And you're like, I work for the state. It's like, how long have you been doing that for? You're like 25 years.
Shit.
You're like, have you ever been like written up or reported for, not being a good employee? They're like, no. Do you show up on time? I'm like, yeah. You start to find all these things, and you're like, doesn't your kid play soccer? They're like, yeah, my kid's been playing soccer for 6 years. Who drives in practice? I do. Who picks your kid up from school? I do. It's like, hey, I think you have discipline in a lot of areas. What you're referring to is that you struggle with discipline in this one particular area, which kind of always goes back to the same fucking thing every single time, is that one area, they're being too restrictive. They're asking too much of themselves for the moment. When I started to run, the great thing about running was that I had zero expectations for it. None. I was just like, I'm walking one day, and I've been walking for like 10 years. And I was just like, I feel good enough to run. Let me see how that feels. I thought, sure enough, this is going to totally hurt my ankles and hurt my knees. I was like, oh, doesn't really feel that bad. I'm like, I'm going to run to that stop sign over there. I ran to the stop sign, and I was like, I think I can run a little further. Like, it gave me a belief in myself as I was doing the actual activity, and it started to feel better and better and better. And then I started to think back, because I've been lifting for so long that I kind of forgot what it was like in the beginning. I don't remember the struggles with the different weights and how long it took to surpass them. And I was just like, okay, well, just like you said with jujitsu, this is just going to be a process. It's going to take a lot of time. Yeah, maybe you'll be out of breath from running 200 feet. But maybe if you do that often, maybe running 200 feet will feel really short.
Yeah.
Maybe once I run a mile 10 times, maybe running a mile won't feel like such a long distance. Then maybe I can run 2 miles. I mean, I remember doing this loop that's over by my old house, and I was like, I'll probably never run that whole thing because it's like 4 miles. I was like, it feels good to walk it. I'm like, I'm happy that I can do that. I was like, I'll probably never run the whole thing. And one day I just was like, I don't feel like stopping. I think I'm going to keep going. Yeah. I just kept going. So a lot of the things that we don't think that we have discipline towards, a lot of things that we feel that we can't do, just really need to redefine it. We need to clean out clean out some of these thoughts that we've had sitting in our closet for many, many years, and just start to understand, look, we all have the capacity. Use the word teachable earlier. Who do we know that doesn't have the ability to be taught something new? Nobody. Right?
Yeah. And from one thing you mentioned there, dude, that I think is a big deal. You said with running, you didn't have a goal. Like you didn't start running with the goal of doing a full marathon or the goal of doing 100 miles. You just were like, I just want to be able to run. So what do people who run do? They run. Like it doesn't matter if they run from here to the stop sign, they run. It doesn't matter if they run and then walk because they run. They run. But you focused on the habit before the goal. Like you focused on, okay, I need to just build the habit of running. And over time, as I build this habit, okay, I'll work on my knees and I'll work on my feet and I'll work on my hip mobility with go to work. Like this is going to increase my capacity to do this habit of running. You didn't have the goal of doing a half marathon, but here you are just doing a half marathon. But that wasn't the goal in the beginning, or the goal wasn't to lose weight. The goal was just, I want to run. So people who like to run have the habit of running. So the reason why we focus on habits so much on the show is because we know that you may have all these grand goals and amazing things that you want to accomplish with a specific thing. Maybe you're trying to get a certain total within powerlifting. Maybe you're trying to make a certain amount of money in a job, or maybe you're trying to just become a healthier individual. But instead of focusing on, even though the goal of losing 50 pounds is great, more so, what are the things that somebody who's healthy does each day? They probably get enough sleep. They probably, have a habit of not eating fast food, not drinking calories, not drinking soda or calories from that. They probably have a habit of potentially not snacking. And instead of focusing on the goal and always focusing on ways that maybe you messed up towards that goal, maybe you focus on the key habits needed to get to that goal. And the goal is going to come if you just keep doing the habits over time. That's it. That's why, don't focus, just try to key in on the habits that we talk about all the time, because if you add those habits into your lifestyle, just insert it and make sure that that habit stays somewhat consistent, you'll get to that goal. If it's 6 months, 3 years, whatever, you'll get there. But because you have the habits.
Share with our audience what you said earlier about your food, like when you go out to a restaurant, if you're just going to let loose, how it's different for you nowadays.
Yeah, it's when this actually hit me. Oh man, I think last week. But no, I was eating food with my wife, and I was just talking to her. I was just like, man, do you remember? I'd eat 3 or 4 plates, and still kind of be looking around for what anybody else has. She's like, yeah. I was like, now I'm actually kind of having a hard time just finishing my one plate. This was at Black Bear Diner.
Oh,
so of course, the plates are huge, but I would still get
the volcano.
They are.
I would annihilate a volcano and then get the big Bob's Bear hamburger.
Good.
So I was eating very good, but then I was thinking, I was like, well, I haven't really been in a deficit in a long time. I'm not really tracking. So, I was thinking, it's not like I've ever been in a hard deficit, like a bodybuilder, getting show ready, but I've always tracked, and I've always been nope, I got to be, in these allotment of calories. I always got to live here.
Yeah.
And then so anytime I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to actually take a break from it, and I went to go eat, dude, I just could never get full. Now I'm still eating good, but if I do try to let loose like I did, at Black Bear,
yeah,
I was just like, oh, here we go. And I'm like, damn, I'm having a hard time finishing this one plate. I'm like, what's going on? I feel so weak, because I'm like, I used to kill so much food. But it's the fact that I'm eating enough food throughout the rest of the week that is finally caught up to where I'm like, oh, I can't really go crazy. I was kind of upset.
Yeah.
I think it makes it really hard for people to stick to a discipline sometimes, just because they or to even get a habit going, because they make stuff too difficult for themselves.
Yes.
So find a way to make it simple. Find a way to make it easy. I started off with a walk run. I think that's a good analogy into anything else that you're doing. Find a way to just kind of stick your toe in it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid or worried about kind of being a pussy about it. It's okay.
This is the one time where we're like, it's okay to be a pussy. Okay?
Yeah. If you're trying to get a habit for lifting weights, don't go in there and give yourself a bad experience.
Yeah.
Don't go and work out with your friend that is a total bro and he's going to, make you just puke when you're lifting. Just go in and try to figure out a couple exercises that you want to do. Just try to make it as simple as you can. That way it's repeatable. And that way it's something that you can start to implement into your life every day without it killing you.
And make it easy. But if you're adding, because I'd anticipate that there are a lot of people that are, let's say that you are powerlifting, but now you're implementing some things and maybe you switched your focus to something else. It is okay if your strength on the barbell goes down a little bit. That's not something to worry about, because when you relate yourself so much to what you're able to do on a barbell in the gym, that again kind of stops you from being able to progress in other things. When I started jujitsu, and I was only going twice a week when I started because it just hurt so much, my barbell strength on certain movements was going down. But I was like, this is okay because I do want to get better at this. Maintaining strength in the gym is still going to be helpful, but I don't have to focus on that so much. But for some people, when they start another endeavor, if you start doing a little bit of running and now you're too sore to do things in the gym, you might just quit that because you're like, well, my gym stuff is suffering.
People get really worried about losing strength when they're losing weight.
Yes.
And my disappointing truth that I have to reveal to them is, you're not that strong anyway. Listen, man, your 455 squat ain't impressing anybody weighing 300 pounds. So you'd be better off weighing 240, squatting 240.
Yeah. But you know what? That's important to understand. Like it's important I had to expand my ability or my thought process of what is strength, right? Strength does not just come down to how much I'm able to squat, bench, and deadlift. For me now, the way I define strength physically is what my body has the capacity to do, right? So I want my body to have the capacity to move well in all these different ranges.
Move well, produce a lot of force.
Yeah, be able to produce a lot of force. I don't want to you see some people that only do yoga, but then their body doesn't have any resiliency, right? So they're super flexible. I want to be able to be strong. I want to be able to be mobile and flexible and have my body be able to do different things, because we do know that if we have that ability, as we get older and we maintain that ability, walking upstairs, keeping up with kids, grandkids, doing things like you did when you were younger, you'll be able to do them. You won't hurt your back stepping out of a car. So you want to be able to have the ability to move. I also want to be able to have the ability to manipulate my body well. Meaning that I want to be able to manipulate things when I'm on my hands. So that's why I'm doing a lot more calisthenics. I want strong tendons. That's why I'm doing a lot of long range work. Like it does, strength for me is not just how much do I SBD, because there's so much more things. I want to be able to run. Like I want to be able, I think that as a human, I should be able to have some capacity as far as that's concerned, because that's important. Running is the thing that we do all the time as kids. So it should not be foreign for us to have the ability to do that. Doesn't mean we need to be running marathons, but the ability to just run at a decent pace for a period of time without my body feeling like shit. That's all strength.
I thought it was really cool when we had John Berardi on the show. He still competes in 100-meter dashes.
Yeah.
And by the way, 100 meters is really far. If you haven't sprinted before, or you haven't sprinted in a long time, and you try to do 100 meters, you feel like you're running forever. It's crazy because the human body, it doesn't matter how conditioned you are, it doesn't matter who you are. Trying to maintain your highest force output, it doesn't last very long. I mean, I think it lasts only a couple seconds. I mean, try to sprint on an Airdyne bike or assault bike and check your wattage on there or anything that can measure your watts. And you're going to notice that, like, man, maybe you were able to hold something for 3 to 5 seconds. And if you were able to do that, that's like miraculous. Like that's a long ass time.
Yeah.
So 100, if you can move pretty well, might be like 12 seconds or something like that, depending on how fast somebody is. But that's a long ass time to try to hold on to a certain speed.
What is 100? It's like
100 meters.
Yeah.
Oh, just a stretch on a track.
So like the
track is 400
the straightaway.
meters, right?
Yeah, the straightaway.
Straightaway. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure I had that right. Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
Is a track 400 meters?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And the straightaway is 100. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get yourself through that. But it's funny because we've talked to so many different people. We talk about so many different things. We've been exploring strength, and we've had people come on the show and talk about all kinds of things. And when you think about some of the ways that Dr. Baker trains, to me, a lot of that makes the most sense. Like if you're trying to live, like a healthy life. Like Dr. Baker is big on like hip hinging. He does some squatting. He does a lot of explosive movements. he comes here to super training and he tries to touch the medicine ball to the top of the ceiling, which I've seen him hit that before. I forget.
Excuse me?
Yeah, with one of the med balls.
It's ridiculous.
Wait,
dude.
are that ceiling in that gym?
Yeah, it's like
He can throw the ball up and hit the ceiling?
Yeah.
it's like 3 stories high.
Yeah, he's a fucking animal. But that guy, that guy can take off into a sprint. He can deadlift 500 pounds.
He can kettlebell swing our biggest kettlebell.
Yeah, he's
nothing.
Yeah. But what's that, 200?
233.
Yeah, he's just
stupid.
He's completely ridiculous, but he has a lot of good points. Somebody that can express the ability to sprint can go off and do anything else.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I'm running, which this probably sounds kind of backwards, but part of the reason why I'm running is so I can get back into expressing some of that. I want to be able to jump. I want to not only be able to jump off of 2 feet up onto a box, I want to be able to jump off of 1 foot. And I want that to not feel like I'm going to die. Little hops and stuff like that I've seen people do for drills, just hopping on one leg. I can do all those things, but they'll also, at the moment, they'll cost me a little too much. So I'm working my way into them slowly. And I'm like, well, if I running is just hopping back and forth between 1 foot and the other for a long period of time. That's all I'm really doing. And as I build that capacity up and as my fitness is a little bit better, these other things will be easier. So I'm going to try to position myself to be able to sprint more often. I don't really care about like running long distances, although that was kind of fun to do the half marathon. Some of the shit that happens when you're in that frame of mind is kind of neat. And the positivity of all the other people that were running, and some people were running for, family members that passed. Some people were running for cancer. It was dope. It was really, really cool and very emotional for some people. But I would like to get more into like maybe trail running and maybe doing stuff at higher speeds.
Yeah, running like, oh, dude.
But if you can sprint, you can fucking deadlift. You know what I mean? Like, you might not be proficient at deadlifting. You might not be that strong at it. But I wouldn't have any problem with working with somebody in here saying, yeah, man, you can go for 315. Because, as long as their form is okay, I'm not worried that they're going to like snap something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, this guy sprints. I forget what the amount of times it is your body weight, but it's like, I want to say, depending on the person, I think it's like 12 to 16 times your body weight when you sprint. Somebody listening will probably be like, you just butchered that.
Yeah,
but,
I think Graham was saying it's like 125% each step you take.
Right.
Like
yeah,
when you're running.
He mentioned like jogging, running, sprinting, the multiplier, which I forgot.
It's a ton of force on your body is the point.
Yeah.
That can't be duplicated by lifting. Because when you lift, you're only going to lift X amount per your body weight, 2 times your body weight if you're super strong, maybe 3 times your body weight.
Yeah, just yesterday. So like I was exporting a bunch of episodes from the Arnold Classic, but I did my first like biomechanics workout that I've done since I started doing the GOTA stuff, and so I just went straight to back because I like getting my lats fully pumped and stuff. And man, it felt incredible because I was able to get into positions that didn't hurt anymore. Like before I would have to kind of like gingerly get into them. And then yesterday I was just like, holy shit. So then I could not like something funny over there, sir.
Sorry. It's just when you say gingerly, I just picture you just like,
yeah, no, that's what it looked like, but I didn't do that with my face. No, instead of like really like getting in there, I would have to like, all right, how we doing today? All right, we're good. And okay, then go ahead and pull it in.
Yeah.
But no, dude, it was dope. And it's funny because like what you're saying about like, oh, your 400-pound squat's not impressing anybody at 300 pounds. That's kind of how I feel like about like my body. I would just be like, no, I got to keep working out. I got to stay on the diet. I got to keep whatever I have because I don't got much. But now it's like I kind of have, I don't want to say given up, but like I've just submitted to doing GOTA and stretching and stuff so much to the point where like we only got in like 1 round of it today, and like I feel like I need to go out there right now because
we got an awesome workout though,
really good workout. So that's where I'm kind of justifying it. But after this, I want to go out there and finish my groundwork. But like now, like I can't go without it. it's become such a good habit that I just cannot. Why are you looking at me weird again?
No, I'm just happy that you worked your tips today.
And I did tibs. Yeah, I worked my tibs. I'm going to have some sexy ass tibs.
You know what's great though is that you're going to get to it anyway because it is an ingrained habit. That's the thing that's great about a habit is like you don't have to worry about it. Like you know that work's going to get done today. You will do it. Nsima will go to jujitsu even if I'm taking 4 hours talking to somebody in the gym, taking up everybody's time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're not gonna miss jujitsu for a week, right?
No.
You're gonna fucking go at some point. You're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Take us on out of here, Andrew.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop us a comment down below and make sure you guys like today's episode and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you guys have not subscribed already. And follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok as well.
What?
I got my handle back. Yeah, I caught somebody slipping. They had my handle, and then I took it back. So at I am Andrew Z all over the place. That's where you guys can find me. And Nsima, where you at?
Yeah, yo, guys, I want you to let us know, like, from listening to the podcast, what's some things that you've been taking away, some things that you've been adding into your lifting, into your lifestyle, into your habits. I want to know how the stuff that we've been bringing, the guests that we've been bringing, I want to know how they've been helping you guys because they've been helping all of us massively. Yeah. But we see comments all the time from you guys adding things in and we just want to know more. So if you're listening on audio, come over to YouTube, have the party in the comments, give us an idea. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark?
Peeps, I never ran over 4 miles until the other day. It felt amazing. So I just challenge y'all to pick something to do. Gives you goals, and your goals end up giving you kind of a cascade of disciplines that surround that goal. So fucking go for it. Even if you sign up for something like that, there's nothing that says that you can't walk some of it. So figure it out. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.